Alright folks, it's time to do another one of these tear apart reviews for the sake of constructive criticism. Prefaces and apologies to everybody out there in digital domain as well who did most of the VFX for this. Again, these are great artists. This is early in the game, it's an early trailer, so the VFX are technically not finished. The composites are still sort of an intermediate stage, so we're just here to see if we can kind of like just notice things, and these things can help us as artists kind of like improve our work. So it's constructive criticism. And also just to kind of take a look at something that doesn't necessarily have to do with the quality of the visual effects as so much as it's the repetitive sort of styles of, you know, whether it be lightning bolts or super saturated glows, just seeing things that always look familiar. And if we can break up that familiarity in, you know, future iterations, or try to pull away from things that are quick, easy, go-to tool sets inside of Nuke or something, and, you know, that we just kind of like copy-paste because we're on a short deadline, or, you know, or the budget's really low. So anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at this.
Excuse me, Mr. Reyes? You finished scraping the gum off that lounger or what?
Everything right now feels so out of reach.
You always land on your feet, bro. You're Jaime.
They don't get out much. I just want to rap. Jenny?
Guard that with your life, but do not open it.
You went in to get us jobs, and all you brought back was a hamburger?
Okay, I don't think it's a burger.
You haven't looked?
What the hell is that?
How did you get it to do that?
I think he likes me.
It's on your back! Get it out! Get it out! Jaime.
This ain't what you want. This ain't what you want. This ain't what you want. What the?
Host acquired.
Who said that? It's okay. It's gonna be okay. Space.
Re-entry systems ready.
Wait, no. This ain't what you want. This ain't what you want. This ain't what you want. What is going on? I just want to rap.
It's called the Scarab. It's some kind of world-destroying weapon. It's designed to protect its host.
This ain't what you want.
Sometimes it does what you want, and sometimes it doesn't.
Body out of here.
I think I cut a bus in half.
The Scarab chose you, but it belongs to me.
That love you feel for your family makes you weak. I just wanna rap. They gon' kill my dog, saying my money don't know my side. The universe has sent you a gift, and you have to figure out what you're gonna do with it. That's my heart. 1, 2, 3, 4, throw up to 5.
Whatever you can imagine, I can create.
Let's party.
Nice choice.
I just wanna rap.
Whoa, it's like Batman stuff. Batman's a fascist.
I just wanna rap.
Alright, so let's kind of go through and take a look at the visual effects of this. So I'm a big fan of Sholo, I can never say his last name, having worked on the last two Cobra Kai shows. I always thought he was a really good actor. I think Cobra Kai is honestly going down the tubes lately. So I don't know, just the story-wise, but I always liked him as an actor. Again, not a big comic book fan, but you know, I think this is the reason you could see a lot of repetitive themes and storylines, so much so that it's becoming exhausting, and we're kind of returning to that in this movie, whereas both DC and Marvel have kind of jumped into this multiverse storyline, which basically is a desperate way to get originality by changing things up. So this shot is confusing to me because I thought it looked like a production company logo, like I Love Palmera City Productions presents, you know, Blue Beetle. You know, I thought, like, is this... It doesn't even feel like it's part of the movie. It feels like it's some kind of, like, intro to a company credit you would see in a movie. Or maybe in the storyline, obviously the name of the city, the fictional city that he lives in, is called Palmyra City. Maybe there's like a narration at the beginning, and this is supposed to look composited. I don't know, but what's holding up this heart? You know what I mean? If this is literally, you know, on a beach. And again, they do have this when at airports where they have like these letters stick out. I forgot which airports have it, but they do have these where when you pull up, you know, it says, "Hey, welcome to the city." But in general, it just feels weird. The shadows don't make sense. The angles are a little weird, I think. The coloring looks weird. The brightness of the sun. Again, all these, you know, the dynamic range is always so low as far as the highlights. So that to me always kind of looks weird. You know, everyone's always like, "Oh, the Alexa, we got 17 stops of latitude." It's like, yeah, that's great. But, you know, what's wrong with blowing out a scene once in a while? So it just feels weird that these letters are like, you could see the reflection of the plane starting to come in there. But this looks really weird. I don't know what they were thinking with this, honestly. Again, probably rough. This looks beautiful. Obviously, it's a fictional city. Very colorful, very saturated, comic booky. You know, that's a very nice shot. I'm not going to be tearing apart everything here. I don't know. And then, of course, these buildings are a bit fake because, you know, it's like perfectly shaped. And how often do you see a building with a super saturated, like, purple line? That would almost look tacky today, you know? So obviously that's kind of what pulls... Saturation always pulls me out of a movie, I don't know, when it has, like, super saturated objects or something, you know? So anyway, you got sort of like this family here, and... you know, I don't know what it is. This still feels like... I feel like I'm still watching Cobra Kai. I don't know, I don't know why. That and On My Block. It feels like I'm watching On My Block meets Cobra Kai meets Marvel. But, again, it's just what it is. Anyway, so, obviously it's very Spider-Man-esque. I believe this comic was written in, like, 2008 or whatever. But it's like, oh, don't touch this beetle, you know, just like a spider. You know, the spider bites him or something. So he takes this thing home. Okay, let's kind of skip ahead here. And, you know, you got this Beetle. Now, I kind of like was hanging with a bunch of Purdue students who were kind of like just, you know, critiquing the trailer. Whenever you have these intense blue lights, obviously they had a practical on set in his face. But what's weird about this is the shadows and the lighting is a bit weird. Like, for instance, you know, if this light was so bright to hit his face that far away, because light is usually quadratic in fall off, so for every unit it loses like it goes down to a quarter of the original unit's light. So you can see here like this weird like mist coming off of the light. Like, is the room really that smoky or whatever? And if that face is going to be that bright, this is going to be like a white highlight here or something. It's going to be very, very, very bright. And she's barely got any light on her, too. So, and then if this area right here is that bright, then why is it like barely illuminating his arm, you know? And again, this is rough. This is kind of roughing it in, you know, right now. This is early compositing, and I'm sure they'll have an improvement. This definitely feels like it's sort of sitting above the plate. Even though it is backlit from behind, it just feels like the body of this bug should have some shadows. If this thing is touching right here with a shadow, there should be shadows like in this area right here. So it definitely feels, in a way, composited. It looks like it's tracking well. And then you get this, like, when something is that bright before, that was literally like glowing somebody that's about 2 feet away, now all of a sudden this thing ain't bright at all, and it's sort of like sticking. Again, it feels like there's no shadow. There's like soft lighting in the scene, but hard lighting on the actual spider itself or whatever this is, a beetle. Like, where's the light on the wall here? It seems like there's a little bit of something there, but it's real subtle. These are the sort of things, like, if you were on set, it would have been smart to, this is like budget and time and all that, to get someone to put some sort of like practical light hitting the wall here to emulate this, or even emulate, have light on their arms, you know, maybe spotlighting their arm specifically so that the glow makes sense. It seems like the only on-set practical light of this obviously was what we're seeing here, and then the good old nuke lightning I don't know if they have their own lighting. I'm assuming they probably do. Hopefully they're not using the same nuke lighting that everyone's using. the one nuke light. This feels like I'm looking at that monster, that goo monster from Stranger Things 3 when it transforms or whatever, sort of like in the way that the Thing transforms. So there's like these claws coming out of his back. The flames are really cool. This shot's really cool. So props to the folks at Digital Domain. I don't like using the word kudos because I think that this is a stupid term. I don't know why. I hate when people use the word kudos. I like props. I don't know. But anyway, so what's interesting about this, the atypical, again, I was talking about before, like how we always see something, it always has that specific CG genre look, whether it be like a Houdini fire or explosion that kind of has that kind of like, and then the smoke that might have that Harry Potter-esque smoke look, wispy. Like these shots look really good. Like there's nothing in here where I'm like, you know. But there's a shot coming up where the shadows are kind of weird. Here it is. So you can see, like, it looks like there's soft shadows on his feet, and then you have like a hard shadow here, and it almost looks like the blacks are slightly off, not by much. But you can kind of see how it's like soft lighting, soft fall off there, and then like a hard lighting going on with the feet. So yeah, it's a bit strange there. This all looks good. Again, when I see like this like liquid black goo, I mean, immediately we come back to other superhero movies that kind of put our minds, like whether it be like Venom and so forth, you know. It has that sort of Venom feel. I think that suit just looks very plasticky, almost like rubbery plasticky. Doesn't look very metallic. I'm assuming in these shots that's just the guy in a helmet, and then these two things are the CG elements, so it kind of saves the time. I was surprised to see there was a lot of Digital Domain artists I noticed on IMDb working on this. It looked like it was solely Digital Domain working on this. A lot of people have been whining about this interface here. It looks real cheeseball, old school, almost weird and cartoony. So, and then here he kind of like goes through the roof, and I thought like it did to me. Again, it's just a cartoon or you know, comic book, but it seems like the minute he fell through the ceiling, immediately the debris is falling out as opposed to going out. It's going down, you know. But that's a small gripe. It's a big whiny gripe. So this starts to get into Superman Returns territory a little bit. As he kind of there's a scene where he gets this shot right here. It's like Superman Returns. Like I'm looking at this, you know, the Man of Steel with his cape and the atypical, you know, 180-degree turn, looking around and then going for that rainbow sun, which is coming around the corner here. There it is. So you got that little lens flare and so forth, and then he falls to the ground. Again, a lot of motion blur. And then this is a kind of cool shot. One of my students was saying, one of these students at Purdue was saying that there should be more water interaction there. Kind of just fluttered and disappeared or whatever, but whatever. It's just a minor whine. So anyway, there's like things in here that, again, it just feels like this frame just feels like too cartoony, almost childish, kiddie cartoony. I don't know the way that the lighting is, all this super saturated sort of light and all this, and it just feels kind of corny in a way. And then she's over there explaining like it's some device that protects you. You know, I always find it ironic that whenever somebody the moment someone inherits a superpower via, you know, a bug latched to your face or bitten by a spider, then out of nowhere comes a villain. Like the timing is always so perfect, you know. Oh, look, a villain has arrived into the city at the same time you got your superpower, you know. So I know it's just a movie, it's 2 hours, and you got to have a bad guy, so I get it. I just find it weird that everybody on this bus is like doesn't care. I mean, if there's a gas tank at the bottom of this thing, it would blow up. But they're like kind of not caring, and everybody coincidentally, you know, didn't sit on the inner aisle and get, you know, obliterated. Yeah, this interface is really not the greatest. I'm betting this was probably something on set. They probably had 2 pieces of a bus or something, and then they added the CG sort of little melting points and sparks and stuff. That's what I'm guessing. So again, I really like the actor. Always enjoyed this. I mean, come on, this is the Matrix. You know, the lightning that goes from bottom to top as it kind of moves through the different people that are in the red goo. You know, where are the little sentinels flying around? It's like, come on, this is too much like, you know, the Matrix here. This is just, you know, I think the Wachowski's got a lawsuit there. Anyway, again, very similar styles as far as like when we see any sort of like weird glowy stuff. The typical shake as the camera goes by, you know, something goes by the camera, typical distortion going on there. I don't know what Susan Sarandon's doing in this movie. It just seems out of place. It would be, to me, it's just very odd. It'd be like having Jim Carrey show up or something. I don't know. It's like, it's just kind of an odd casting, in my opinion. It's probably just a good movie for kids and so forth. They'll have a blast going to see. And again, here's the villain that comes out of nowhere just as you inherit your superpowers, you know. Here I am, you know. So then there's this big battle fight. Getting a little Cobra Kai-ish here. Flipping people around. Doesn't look like, I mean, it looks like the villains are these Halo space, what do you call it, like Halo outfit characters. And this looked a little too, I don't know what it is. Like, I always say, like, you can see they put dirt on here. But even breaking up things, not at the micro level, but the macro level, maybe a little bit more variation here. Whenever you have those sort of substance painter models, you know, it always feels like it's, and I discussed this about the Avatar trailer, like some of the yellow machines and so forth, you know, construction machines that were in the trailer, they always look like they're brand new, but somebody just, like brand spanking new, super saturated, but yet somebody threw a bunch of gunk on it all of a sudden, you know. Whereas if you see anything in the real world that's been sitting around or collecting dust, it really starts to lose its saturation and brightness. So that's just me. Again, super saturation. Good old lens flares. So, yeah, a lot of Cobra Kai stuff here. So just kind of move more and more lightning. Can't get enough lightning, man. And then we sort of go into this sort of Final Fantasy sword thing. I don't know. Maybe I'm out of touch with what's going on, but it's kind of like, okay, a sword, you know. But again, this is the reason why I think like Marvel and DC are kind of moving towards this multiverse stuff, because they can't, the plots are becoming so redundant that they need to switch it up by having the ability to kill somebody off by doing multiverse and then bring them back. And like because people are so used to understanding the common plot of a superhero movie, how nobody can die, how nobody can get hurt, how this person can't do this or that because of the canon of the comic book, and yet multiverse seems to be the case that they're going, even on the new Flash movie. So this looks like Cobra Kai, like title. I don't know. You tell me. It looks like the Cobra Kai logo. But that's it. I know everybody hates me at this point who worked on this. I'm just being honest. And that's, you know, hey, I'm just having fun. I'm sure you guys are doing great work, working hard, and better artists than me. So I'll see you guys in the next